of interest. It started? Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Amma ba'd. So inshallah, my goal is to actually finish this book before Ramadan. So in order to do that, I would have to take both Mondays and Thursdays for the actual dictation of the book. So I hope you guys don't mind. We can still have lessons afterward where I listen to you and correct you, but I really want to just get through the book, and that way it'll become much easier later on. So with that said, let's continue. I might pick up the pace a little bit, but I'm still going to try my best to explain. So where we left off was talking about when two letters are near one another. So you have about 4 different categories for this, meaning when two letters appear next to one another. Either they are, I'll give you the Arabic words and then I'll give you the translation. Al-Mutamathilan. Same letter. So what we're talking about is two letters being next to one another. They can be either the same letter, or they could be al-mutajanisan. Similar letter. Or they can be al-mutaqariban. Let's say near letter, just for the lack of a better term. Or they can be al-mutaba'ida. Different letters, completely different. Just call them different. All right. So two letters appearing next to each other can be of one of 4 categories. Mutamathilan, for instance, 2 dals next to one another. Mutajanisan means same makhraj. Same makhraj. So that would be like dal and ta. Mutaqariban is not the same makhraj, but they share some sifat. So let's do a different example. Qaf and kaf. These are not the same makhraj, but they're near. Qaf, kaf. And different letters, completely different. Let's say dal and qaf. Dal and qaf. They're very different. Right, so you go from the same to similar. How are these similar? Makhraj is the same. For dal, ta, and ta, makhraj is 1. Then you go to something, makhraj is not the same, but the sifat are the same here. Qaf, kaf, very near. Then you get completely different. So based off of which, 2 letters you have next to one another, you will treat them differently. For these 3, there is idghām, but also it's not in every situation. It's not in every situation. So we are talking about 2 letters being next to one another so that we may talk about this concept of idghām. For different letters, this is always going to be izhar. Right? Izhar means you just read them all clearly. Right, so we start with mutamathilan. They are the same letter. So in this situation, you will do idghām. And the scenario is the first letter is sakin, and the second letter has a haraka. We talked about this, so let's say mutamathilan. They have different names to it. You could just call them mithlain, but mutamathilan. Let's just do that. Example, قد دخلوا. Okay, قد دخلوا. So notice that first dal. These are two dals. They're next to one another. They're the same letter. The first one is sakin, قد. The second one has a fatha. In this scenario, you fuse them in your pronunciation. قد دخلوا. You wouldn't say قد دخلوا, right? Because normally you would have to do قلقلة. قد دخلوا. That's إظهار. Idghām is the fusion. And in our previous lessons, we talked about what the technical term for idghām is. Another example. يدرككم. 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 So it sounds like it's just one kaf. The first one is sakin. If the first one had a haraka, it would be like يدرككم. That's fine. يدرككم is fine. All of this is given the situation where we're talking about the first of the two same letters being sakin, the second one having a haraka. That's when you would do idghām. Right, so that's the rule of idghām for مثلين or متماثلان, we could say. Now, he goes into detail in this regard. I'll just mention it. It's not necessary to know all the scenarios. He says there's 8 scenarios for متماثلان. So the first one, you could just suffice by listening. Or if you guys ever get the kitab, then page 116. Right? Dhal next to a dha. إِظْظَلَمُوا. إِظْظَلَمُوا. Right? So the dhal this is actually going to be mutajanisan, right? Mutajanisan. So let's move on to mutajanisan, because mithlain is very simple. It's the same letter. You're not going to get 8 scenarios for that. I was talking about mutajanisan. So mithlain is very simple. Same letter next to one another. You fuse them. If the first one's sakin, you fuse it into the second. Then we got mutajanisan. Mutajanisan, which comes from the word jins. Jins means like type. They're the same type. They're not the same word. They're the same category, because same makhraj. That's where the word mutajanisan comes from. And mutamathilan means same. Mithl, like exact. Mithl is like. It's like. You can say it's like, it's same type. Then near, then far. If you look at the root words. So now, what did we say mutajanisan was? What? Go ahead. Same makhraj, correct. So you get 2 letters next to one another. First one sakin, second one with a haraka. Same makhraj. We'll also do idghām. And there's 8 scenarios of this. I'll just write the scenarios down where what you would find in the Quran. So the first one he says here is a dhal into dha. I'll just write it like this. Dhal into dha. As in إِظْظَلَمْتُمْ. Number 2, ta into ta. I'll write it differently. That's easier to write it like that. Ta into ta. As in, no, I'm sorry. The second one is ta into dal. Remember, ta and dal, same makhraj. قد تبين. قد تبين. You fuse the dal into the ta. Third one, dal into ta. أثقلت دعوى الله. أثقلت دعوى الله. Number 4, ta into ta, as in فآمنت طا. فآمنت طائفة. طائفة. Okay, 4. Let's go right here. 5. It's harder to write as you go down. Lam into ra, as in قل ربي. Number 6. Zal into tha, as in يلهث ذلك. يلهث ذلك. And number 7, meme into ba, as in اركم معنا. And there's an 8th, that is ta into ta, as in أحط فسلت فرطتم. فرطت. I'll just leave it with that. Okay. So here, these are all the scenarios of mutajanisan. Again, mutajanisan is where the letters share a makhraj, but they're not the same. I know I've written it very small here. So if you find a dhal and then a dha, and the first letter, which is a dhal, is a sakin, and the dha has a haraka, you will do idghām. For example, إِذْ ظَلَمْتُمْ. إِذْ ظَلَمْتُمْ. As if that dhal is not there, and you just put a shadda on the dha. إِذْ ظَلَمْتُمْ. Ta, dal into ta. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ. As if that dal is not there, and then the ta has a shadda. Can you see? قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ. Number 3, dal into ta. أثقلت دعوى الله. So it's أثقلت. أثقلت دعوى الله. As if that ta is not there. And you guys do this automatically without knowing the rule because it's all written in the Quran. So like your mind follows the rules. That's just how we were trained. But when you actually look at it, this is the reason why. We kind of learn recitation before we learn the rules, like the actual technical rules. But it's good to know. Then ta into ta. فآمنت ta. It becomes فآمنت ta. فآمنت ta. As if that ta is not there. Then lam into ra. قل ربي. قل ربي. As if you don't pronounce the lam anymore. They're all mutajanisan. Then tha into dhal. يلهث ذلك. يلهث ذلك. So it goes into some detail here that in for Hafs and Taybatun Nashar, you have the option of idhar and idghām, but we will read in our general Hafs, we'll read يلهث ذلك. He says in another tariq of Hafs is يلهث ذلك. Like if you're reading Waslan, يلهث ذلك. Then ba into mim. اركم معنا. And he says for Hafs, in the way of Shatibiya, it's only with idghām. Meaning the way that the general way that Hafs is recited is via Shatibiya. That's the common recitation that we all recite. So when you say Hafs via Shatibiya, that's what everyone recites. If you say Hafs via Taybatun Nashar, there's various modes. So in طيبة النشر, you have إظهار and إدغام. So you could say اركب معنا, اركب معنا. But to do that in a normal sense is wrong. To do that for حفص via شاطبية is wrong. It's اركب معنا.
What the Johnny son, if the letters are like from the same makhraj.
Yeah. Yeah, so ba and mim, the lips, same makhraj.
And then also, if you were to recite in the second one, irkab ma'ana, you have to announce it.
You don't have to. You never have to announce reciting, but it's if you're reading for the riwayah, it would be incorrect. If you're reading in salah, it's fine. Like let's say, reading for the sake of riwayah is reading for the sake of preservation. Like you're reading to a sheikh to get ijazah, and you say irkaba ma'ana.
If you were doing the shafidiyah.
Yeah. Then the sheikh would be like, no, that's wrong. I cannot give you ijazah because you didn't read what you're supposed to be reading. But if you read it in Taraweeh, someone says irkaba ma'ana, forgive him, like whatever. Because unless you have made an announcement that in this Taraweeh we're doing riwayat Hafs wa Shatibiyah, which no one does, and if you did that announcement and then you did this, it's wrong. But no one does that, so that's fine. Even technically, if someone comes and reads a different riwayah in Taraweeh, it's still Quran. Right? Now the last one is ta into ta. This is a little bit different. So this is what we call idghām naqis. This one. And all the other ones, the top 7, are called idghām kamil or idghām tam. That's right there. Idghām tam. Complete idghām. As you noticed, a complete idghām is that first letter becomes, it's gone. Idghām naqis is a little bit different. So incomplete idghām. Okay. Idghām naqis. So what is idghām naqis? It is where you retain a little bit of the first letter, but you do pronounce the second letter. How do you do this? It's only for this one because these are all upside down, isn't it? It's supposed to be ta into ta. Yeah, these are all upside down. That arrow should be the other way around. It's ba into mim, tha into that. See that arrow? Turn it around for all of them. Because I'm reading it in English, so then I wrote it. It's all weird. Just go by the example. You see, tha into that, ba into mim, lam into ra. Yeah, just go by the example. It's all. I apologize for that. So let's turn it this way. Ta into ta. Right. So for this one, and there's reasons for it, is because ta is such a strong letter. It's stronger than a ta. What you will do is retain the itbaq, which is the thickness of the ta, but you will end up pronouncing the ta. What this sounds like is ahaltu. You know, like someone's about to do a big sneeze and then they just like nothing really comes out of it. Just like that. Ahaltu. You're about to say ball, like the big old ball, but then you just turn it to. Ahaltu. Ahaltu. Basalta. So you do the thickness of the tongue, but you transform it after that into the ta. This is called idghām naqis, where you retain some of that first letter, but you don't really pronounce that first letter. You prep for that first letter, but then you switch suddenly. So that's found in that one. And the reason is because ta is so strong, it has this capability of presenting itself. And in reality, that's how Arabs used to do it. We have this principle where if Arabs did it that way, then we just follow. Right. And that works for farrattum, farrattum, farrattu. It's these 4 places. Ahaltu, basalta, farrattum, farrattu. All right. So this is the whole thing for mutajanisan. Now, you guys let me know when you're done taking notes so that I can erase some stuff. Or I can even go to the top. Let me do that. We're now going to talk about mutaqariban. I hope you guys have this portion. Mutaqariban. So what was mutaqariban again? Near. But what does it mean? Mutajanisan, same makhraj. The makhraj and the sifat are near, meaning they share some sifat. They don't share the same makhraj. So unlike the previous one, they do share the same makhraj, one and the same. Here, the makhraj we could call it near, and they share some sifat. So like qaf and kaf. If you look at the list of the sifat, there are a lot of them. They'll have jahar, they'll have various of the same ones, and you can tell qaf, kaf, they're very near. So he goes into some detail. Now I don't want to do all that because here we're learning tajweed and not qira'at. When you go into that detail, you say this riwayah, that riwayah. That's actually a different field of knowledge, which is qira'at. Here, I'll just give you some examples what to do. Mutaqariban. So in this situation, you will actually, I think we have to go in a little bit of the details here. So he says, example number 1, qaf into kaf. So make sure I do this one right. Qaf into kaf. An example of this, alam nakhluqkum. Alam nakhluqkum. So here you have a qaf and a kaf next to one another. They're not the same makhraj, they're not the same letter, but they are near one another. Qaf is sakin, kaf has a haraka. So what do we do here? We do idghām. There's different riwayas, even for Hafs, he says, the Shatibiyya and the Tayyiba, they do idghām kamil. However, there have been some people in the past, he mentions their names, where they did idghām naqis. So what we take away from this is, this must be idghām tam. Idghām tam. If you recall, idghām tam is where the first letter completely disappears. Right? This is where we're talking about fana. It completely disappears. It says fana al-fana. Right? Alam nakhluqkum. And he says in the Shatibiyya and the Tayyiba, in Hafs, they're all idghām tam. So nowhere should a person be reading nakhluqkum. Like you should not prep your mouth for the qaf and go into the kaf. That's idghām naqis. There is no idghām naqis for this. In most, in the Tayyiba and the Shatibiyya, some, he says, Abu Bakr bin Mihran, Makki ibn Abi Talib, these, ones that people don't really learn anymore, they would do idghām naqis. Idghām naqis would sound like, alam nakhluqkum, alam nakhluqkum, like your mouth is prepping for a qaf, and you go into a kaf. But it's idghām tam, meaning alam nakhluqkum. Imagine that qaf is not there. Alam nakhluqkum. Right? And it'll be shadda there. So this is idghām tam. The next one, there's only 3 here. The lam of the shamsiyya into the 13 huruf. So this is one. Second scenario is the lam of the huruf shamsiyya. We're going to get to that. Into, did I say 13? Yeah, 13 huruf. 13 letters. Okay, we will get to that. It's very simple, you already know it, but not in principle. The third one, he says, النون الساكنة والتنوين في حروف لم يروي. Noon sakin and tanween into the letters lam yarwi. This is an acronym. Lam yarwi. You know, like yarmalun, that kind of thing. Lam yarwi. So he's going to talk about this one. So these are the mutaqariban letters. Okay. Now we're gonna come back to it, so we're not gonna go in detail. Let me erase this now. Inshallah, you guys have that. And now what's left? Who can tell me? No one knows what's left. Al-Mutaba'idan. Two far apart letters. Now, far apart letters is like everything else. What you do here is idhar. Everyone does idhar for these. So, man amana. Noon and hamza, they don't really resemble one another. An'amta alayhim. The noon and ayn, very different. An'amta. They won't be like noon and ayn are the same. So, like, a'anta. Fuse the noon into the ayn. Yu'minuna. That wow. These are all sakin followed by haraka. Yu'minuna. Wow, or it's a hamza sakin followed by a mim maksur. Yu'minuna. So you won't be like yuminuna because I fused. That doesn't really make sense. Tashkuruna. Sheen and a kaf, very different. They don't share sifat. They're just completely different letters. We're talking about like qaf, kaf, or like he mentioned, like ta, tha. These are very close. Different makharij, but very close. All right. Now, yes.
Where does bod and ta fall into?
Bod and ta. Bod and ta, they would be mutaba'idan. But bod and dal, there's going to be, I believe there's ikhtilaf in that. But in the riwayat Hafs, it's going to be idhar. فقد ضل, not فقد ضل. I'm not sure who does فقد ضل. Even says that here. It says this is researched in ilm al-qira'at. And Hafs and Asim only does idhar in these situations. So, but these are mutaqariban. Dal and Dad are mutaqariban. And you sound like it. Dad is pretty much a mufakham dal. Alright, so here he has a tip. He says there's a symbol for idghām tam and idghām naqis. You can tell in the Quran they put a symbol there for idghām tam versus idghām naqis. He says, yeah, the sign is a shadda. I'll give you two examples. Irkam ma'ana and ahaltu. So for irkam ma'ana, this is idghām tam. Why? Because there's no sign of a ba left. If it would be idghām naqis, how would it be recited? Irkab ma'ana, or I don't know how you would do it actually. You wouldn't be able to do it actually. Like retain some ba. I don't know how you would do it. But anyway, this is idghām tam. Irkam ma'ana. Ba is like gone. Ahaltu, we said is idghām naqis because some qualities of ta remain whilst you are actually pronouncing ta. He says there's a sign in our Qur'ans for the two. The guys who write the Quran down. For idghām tam, complete idghām, they'll put a shadda on the letter that you're supposed to read. Whilst in idghām naqis, they won't put a shadda there, they'll just put the haraka. Right, so ahadtu, basalta, fadrattum, if you guys look at them in the Quran, you will find that there is no shadda. Whereas the other ones where there's idghām, complete idghām, you'll find shaddas there. That's the sign. Shadda or no shadda. Idghām tam gets shadda. Idghām naqis does not have a shadda here. You won't see it like this. Like you won't see it like that. No, you know the rules, but the tip is that there is a yeah. Yeah, meaning like when you learn the yeah. I mean, if you knew this is a deep information. Most people don't even know that. Like that. I don't know if they teach this in Qaida Nuraniya, right? That if it's idgham tam, there's gonna be a shadda. If idgham naqis, no shadda. Yeah. So most people don't even know this, but that's just in the khat. It is there. Now there is. If you allow me to do a little bit more, I will finish this section and then we'll be on time. I want to take a little bit more time from you guys so that we can complete the kitab. We can cover some ground, inshallah. So now we're going to come to this. Now, nun sakin and tanween into these letters, when you have a nun and sakin after it's a waw, you know that there's idgham. This will be discussed in the rules of nun sakin and tanween. It's coming up. And this we're going to talk about right now, and that's where we'll finish tonight, the number 2. So you can make a note that, number 3 is coming up in the chapter of Nun Sakin and Tanween. As for that number 2 about the Huruf Shamsiya and Qamariya, we're going to talk about that right now. So what are Huruf Shamsiya and Qamariya? Arabs have this thing in front of a noun, they will put an alif lam on it. Like if there's rules in Nahu. For instance, al-Jibal, right? The mountain, or the mountains, is plural, Jibal. So al means the. Everything, al-Amin, al. So in Arabic, al means the, generally. So depending on, so you have a alif lam, and then you got another letter that comes after. In this case, jim. Any one of the letters can come after. He gives al-Jibal as an example and as-Sama as another. As-Sama. So what do you notice about in terms of idgham and no idgham? Al-Jibal. That's how you would read it. However, you would not say al-Sama. Right? In the Quran, when we read it, we wouldn't say al-Sama. You say as-Sama, was-Sama, right? And you wouldn't say wad-Jibal. It sounds kind of weird, right? So the ones where you do not pronounce them, they're called Shamsiya, the Huruf Shamsiya. Al-Huruf Shamsiya. The ones where you do pronounce them, they're called al-Huruf al-Qamariya. It's the opposite, right? You do pronounce them, it's Qamariya. You don't pronounce it as Shamsiya. I'm getting confused. Okay. Al-Qamariya. All right. See, that means you guys I was testing you guys. You guys are following. MashaAllah. Now, what are the Qamariya huruf? Meaning these are the letters. If alif lam comes before them, you will pronounce the al. There's an acronym. There's an acronym for both this time, alhamdulillah. But the acronym for the Qamariya is much easier. Because for the acronym for the Shamsiya, you need to learn a huge thing. So here's the acronym. And actually, I know what it means. So it's nice. The other ones are obscure. Does anyone know what it is before I write it out? You guys studied Tajweed before, right?
I didn't know it.
Okay. All right, here we go. Ibghi hajjaka wa khaf aqima. Let me just leave that. وخف عقيمة. So if you notice this, try to say each one of these letters with al in front of it. Al-a, al-ba, al-gha, al-ha, al-ja, al-ka, al-wa, al-kha, al-fa, al-a, al-qa, al-ya, al-ma, al-ha, right? Alhaakum takathur. It won't be ahhaakum takathur. Or al-qariya. It won't be aqariya, maqariya. It sounds ridiculous. Right? So that's the qaf. Now what does this mean, the acronym? It means intend your Hajj and fear the lack of its acceptance. So Hajj season is coming up. Intend Hajj and fear that it is a bad result from it. So these are considered the huruf shamsiya, the huruf qamariya. And the huruf qamariya, if they come after a alif lam, there will be izhar. So the ruling of it will be izhar. You guys know izhar means you pronounce. Izhar. Right. Now the remainder are the shamsiya. So these are 14, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, yes. And then the remainder are also 14. They're, taking one letter out maybe from the 29. Now I'm going to give you the acronym for the Shamsiya. And in these you will do Idghām. This is long. This is in the Tuhfatul Atfal of Imam al-Jamzuri. Now, I can't say I have it memorized, so I will write it. Okay, so only the first letters in this poem, right? Only the first letters of each. So ta, tha, sad, ra, ta, da, tha, nun, dal, sin, dha, za, shin, and lam. طب ثم صل رحما تفوز ضف ذا نعم دع سوء ظن زر شريفا للكرم. It means طب, be good, be pure. ثم صل رحما, then connect family ties. تفوز, you will be successful. ضف ذا نعم, be hospitable to someone who is given ni'mas from Allah. دع سوء ظن, leave bad thinking of people. زر شريفا للكرم, visit the noble ones to receive generosity. Basically, it's pretty cool how you make sense out of it too. It's not just random letters. All right. Now one last tip that he's going to give us. He says an easy way to know when you have to do, when it's a huruf shamsiya or qamariya, is when it comes to the huruf shamsiya, which are the ones that you do idghām in. There'll be nothing on the lam, and there'll be a shadda on the next letter, like washamsi wa duhaha. Let's do here. Washamsi. Washamsi. So it'll look like this. It's like these are ignored. There's no sakin. Wash shamsi. You'll have a shadda and no thing like that. And the other tip is, let's say, for the other one, what you'll have is that. Anyone know what that shape is? It's the shape for the sakin in. Now, the Indo-Pak Qur'ans, I think they put a circle or what? They put a circle? Hmm? They put a circle. And some Qur'ans, they do this thing. Some do this. And the ones that come from Medina are like this. So this is the one that we're talking about. Anyone have any idea what this resembles? Yeah, it's basically the head of a ha. It's like this. Ha. They just cut that off, and that's a sakin. If you guys ever looked at a sakin, it's basically this in the Quran. This is the head of a ha. I don't know why they did that. It's an abbreviation for something. All right, so that is the whole discussion regarding idghām, and a portion of that is coming up in the chapters of Nun Sakin and Tanween. So we're going to pause here, inshallah, and continue with that next time with the rules of Mim and Nun. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.